appearances are a glimpse of the unseen. Anaxagoras. Men would live exceedingly quiet if these two words, mine and thine, were taken away. Anaxagoras. He who has equipped himself for the whole of life does not need to be advised concerning each separate thing, because he is now trained to meet his problem as a whole. For he knows not merely how he should live with his wife or his son, but how he should live aright. Aristo of Chios. Virtue is the health of the soul. Aristo of Chios. Before a crowd, the ignorant are more persuasive than the educated. Aristotle. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Aristotle. Nature does nothing uselessly. Aristotle. Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. Aristotle. Quality is not an act, it is a habit. Aristotle. Well begun is half done. Aristotle. Wishing to be friends is quick work, but friendship is a slow ripening fruit. Aristotle. Order your soul. Reduce your wants. Augustine of Hippo. The truth is, like a lion, you don't have to defend it. Let it loose. It will defend itself. Augustine of Hippo. If you want rainbow, you have to deal with the rain. Augustus. It is thus with farming. If you do one thing late, you will be late in all your work. Cato the Elder. Bitter are the roots of study, but how sweet their fruit. Cato. He who hesitates is lost. Cato. I begin to speak only when I'm certain what I'll say isn't better left unsaid. Cato. If I followed the multitude, I should not have studied philosophy. Chrysippus. There could be no justice unless there were also injustice, no courage unless there were cowardice, no truth unless there were falsehood. Chrysippus. Wise people are in want of nothing, and yet need many things. Chrysippus. If you have a garden and a library, you have everything you need. Cicero. To be ignorant of what occurred before you were born is to remain always a child. Cicero. To study philosophy is nothing but to prepare oneself to die. Cicero. A room without books is like a body without a soul. Cicero. Glory follows virtue as if it were its shadow. Cicero. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. Cicero. He needs little who desires but little. Calenthes. The fates guide the person who accepts them and hinder the person who resists them. Calenthes. The fates lead the willing but drag the unwilling. Calenthes. The willing are led by fate, the reluctant dragged. Calenthes. Nothing exists except atoms and free space. Everything else is opinion. Democritus. It is greed to do all the talking but to not want to listen at all. Democritus. Except our own thoughts, there is nothing absolutely in our power. Descartes. As a matter of self-perseveration, a man needs good friends or ardent enemies, for the former instruct him, and the latter take him to task. Diogenes. Dogs and philosophers do the greatest good and get the fewest rewards. Diogenes. He has the most who is content with the least. Diogenes. No man is hurt by himself. Diogenes. The foundation of every state is the education of its youth. Diogenes. Let your speech be better than silence, or be silent. Dionysius. The essence of philosophy is that a man should so live that his happiness shall depend as little as possible on external things. Epictetus. The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. Skillful pilots gain their reputations from storms and tempests. Epictetus. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power or our will. Epictetus. You become what you give your attention to. Epictetus. Anyone who can make you angry becomes your master. Epictetus. Attach yourself to what is spiritually superior, regardless of what other people think or do. Hold to your true aspirations no matter what is going on around you. Epictetus. Devote the rest of your life to making progress. Epictetus. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Epictetus. Don't hope that events will turn out the way you want. Welcome events in whichever way they happen. This is the path to peace. Epictetus. First, learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak. Epictetus. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Epictetus. Freedom is not procured by a full enjoyment of what is desired, but by controlling the desire. Epictetus. From this instant on, vow to stop disappointing yourself, separate yourself from the mob, decide to be extraordinary, and do what you need to do. Now. Epictetus. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. Epictetus. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus. It is essential that we not respond impulsively. Take a moment before reacting, and you will find it easier to maintain control. Epictetus. Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems. Epictetus. Nothing truly stops you. Nothing truly holds you back, for your own will is always within your control. Epictetus. Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves. Epictetus. If God listened to the prayers of men, all men would quickly have perished, for they are forever praying for evil against one another. Epicurus. Not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance. Epicurus. The fool's life is empty of gratitude and full of fears. Its course lies wholly toward the future. Epicurus. The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. Epicurus. Do not spoil what you have by desiring what you have not. Epicurus. Talk sense to a fool and he calls you foolish. Euripides. He who sweats more in training bleeds less in war. Greek proverb. I will reveal to you a love potion, without medicine, without herbs, without any witch's magic. If you want to be loved, then love. Hecato of Rhodes. What progress, you ask, have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself. Hecato of Rhodes. Man's character is his fate. Heraclitus fragments. Deaths that are greater portions gain. Heraclitus. No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and he's not the same man. Heraclitus. One man is worth 1,000 if he is extraordinary. Heraclitus. The awake share a common world, but the asleep turn aside into private worlds. Heraclitus. The soul is dyed the color of its thoughts. Think only on those things that are in line with your principles and can bear the light of day. The content of your character is your choice. Day by day, what you do is who you become. Your integrity is your destiny. It is the light that guides your way. Heraclitus. To be even-minded is the greatest virtue. Heraclitus. He who conquers his passions is master of his own worlds. Heracles. The first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. Heracles. The highest good is not to seek to do good, but to allow yourself to become it. Heracles. Before you heal someone, ask him if he's willing to give up the things that make him sick. Hippocrates. Healing is a matter of time, but it is sometimes also a matter of opportunity. Hippocrates. Rule your mind or it will rule you. Horace. Cowards die many times before their death. Julius Caesar. What we do now echoes in eternity. Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. You have to assemble your life yourself, action by action. Marcus Aurelius. Your days are numbered. Use them to throw open the windows of your soul to the sun. If you do not, the sun will soon set, and you with it. Marcus Aurelius. Accept whatever comes to you, woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs? Marcus Aurelius. All that exists is the seed of what will emerge from it. Marcus Aurelius. And you can also commit injustice by doing nothing. Marcus Aurelius. Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? Marcus Aurelius. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work. As a human being, what do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for? The things I was brought into the world to do? Or is this what I was created for? To huddle under the blankets and stay warm? Marcus Aurelius. Be indifferent to what makes no difference. Marcus Aurelius. Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. Marcus Aurelius. Confine yourself to the present. Marcus Aurelius. Death smiles at us all, but all a man can do is smile back. Marcus Aurelius. Don't allow yourself to be heard any longer griping about public life, not even with your own ears. Marcus Aurelius. Don't be overheard complaining, not even to yourself. Marcus Aurelius. Every hour, focus your mind attentively on the performance of the task in hand, with dignity, human sympathy, benevolence, and freedom, and leave aside all other thoughts. You will achieve this if you perform each action as if it were your last. Marcus Aurelius. External things are not the problem. It's your assessment of them, which you can erase right now. Marcus Aurelius. Have I done something for the common good? Then I share in the benefits. Marcus Aurelius. Here is a rule to remember in future. When anything tempts you to feel bitter, not, this is misfortune, but, to bear this worthily is good fortune. Marcus Aurelius. He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary. Marcus Aurelius. If a friend feels upset by you, be the first to try to put things right. Marcus Aurelius. If it's endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. Marcus Aurelius. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Marcus Aurelius. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this You have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. If you don't have consistent goal in life, you can't live it in a consistent way. Marcus Aurelius. In your actions, don't procrastinate. In your conversations, don't confuse. In your thoughts, don't wander. In your soul, don't be passive or aggressive. In your life, don't be all about business. Marcus Aurelius. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Marcus Aurelius. Just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter. Marcus Aurelius. Kindness is unconquerable, so long as it is without flattery or hypocrisy. For what can the most insolent man do to you, if you contrive to be kind to him, and if you have the chance, gently advise and calmly show him what is right, and point this out tactfully and from a universal perspective. Marcus Aurelius. Look back over the past, with its changing empires that rose and fell, and you can foresee the future too. Marcus Aurelius. Mastery of reading and writing requires a master. Still more so, life. Marcus Aurelius. Men seek out retreats for themselves in the country, by the seaside, on the mountains. Nowhere can a man find a retreat more peaceful or more free from trouble than his own soul. Marcus Aurelius. Misfortune nobly born is good fortune. Marcus Aurelius. Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. Marcus Aurelius. Nothing is needed by fools, for they do not understand how to use anything, but are in want of everything. Marcus Aurelius. People who labor all their lives but have no purpose to direct every thought and impulse toward are wasting their time, even when hard at work. Marcus Aurelius. Pleasures, when they go beyond a certain limit, are but punishments. Marcus Aurelius. Recognize that if something is humanly possible, you can do it too. Marcus Aurelius. Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears. Marcus Aurelius. Speak the truth as you see it, but with kindness, with humility. Marcus Aurelius. The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are. Marcus Aurelius. The first step, don't be anxious. Nature controls it all. Marcus Aurelius. The problem creates the solution. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. the tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do, only what you do. Marcus Aurelius. Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. Marcus Aurelius. Today I escaped from anxiety. Or, no, I discarded it because it was within me, in my own perceptions, not outside. Marcus Aurelius. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. What then is that which is able to conduct a man? One thing and only one, philosophy. Marcus Aurelius. Rashness belongs to youth, prudence to old age. Marcus Tullius Cicero. The best livelihood, particularly for the strong, is earning a living from the soil, whether you own your land or not. Many can support their families by farming land, owned by the state or private landowners. Some even get rich through hard work with their own hands. The earth repays those who cultivate her, both justly and well, multiplying what she received, endowing in abundance all the necessities of life to anyone willing to work, and all this without violating your dignity or self-respect. Musonius Rufus. Musonius Rufus on how to live. Wealth is able to buy the pleasures of eating, drinking, and other sensual pursuits, yet can never afford a cheerful spirit or freedom from sorrow. Musonius Rufus. Musonius Rufus on how to live. If you accomplish something good with hard work, the labor passes quickly, but the good endures. If you do something shameful in pursuit of pleasure, the pleasure passes quickly, but the shame endures. Musonius Rufus. Since every man dies, it is better to die with distinction than to live long. Musonius Rufus. You will earn the respect of all if you begin by earning the respect of yourself. Don't expect to encourage good deeds in people conscious of your own misdeeds. Musonius Rufus. A humble art affords us daily bread. Nero. Wait for that wisest of all counselors. Time. Pericles. Love is a serious mental disease. Plato, Phaedrus. There is truth in wine and children. Plato, Phaedrus. Imagine that the keeper of a huge, strong beast notices what makes it angry, what it desires, how it has to be approached and handled, the circumstances and the conditions under which it becomes particularly fierce or calm, what provokes its typical cries, and what tones of voice make it gentle or wild. Once he's spent enough time in the creature's company to acquire all this information, he calls it knowledge, forms it into a systematic branch of expertise, and starts to teach it, despite total ignorance, in fact, about which of the creature's attitudes and desires is commendable or deplorable, good or bad, moral or immoral. His usage of all these terms simply conforms to the great beast's attitudes, and he describes things as good or bad according to its likes and dislikes, and can't justify his usage of the terms any further, but describes as right and good the things which are merely indispensable, since he hasn't realized and can't explain to anyone else how vast a gulf there is between necessity and goodness. Plato, the Republic. Nothing beautiful without struggle. Plato, the Republic. The heaviest penalty for declining to rule is to be ruled by someone inferior to yourself. Plato, the Republic. The worst type of man behaves as badly in his waking life as some men do in their dreams. Plato, the Republic. Love is born into every human being. It calls back the halves of our original nature together. It tries to make one out of two and heal the wound of human nature. Plato, the Symposium. All the gold which is under or upon the earth is not enough to give in exchange for virtue. Plato. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a harder battle. Plato. Courage is knowing what not to fear. Plato. Death is not the worst that can happen to men. Plato. Do not train a child to learn by force or harshness, but direct them to it by what amuses their minds, so that you may be better able to discover with accuracy the peculiar bent of the genius of each. Plato. For a man to conquer himself is the first and noblest of all victories. Plato. Human behavior flows from three main sources: desire, emotion, and knowledge. Plato. Never discourage anyone who continually makes progress, no matter how slow. Plato. Only the dead have seen the end of war. Plato. People are like dirt. They can either nourish you and help you grow as a person, or they can stunt your growth and make you wilt and die. Plato. The greatest wealth is to live content with little. Plato. The measure of a man is what he does with power. Plato. We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. Plato. Philosophy is an act of living. Plutarch. What we achieve inwardly will change outer reality. Plutarch. A single day among the learned lasts longer than the longest life of the ignorant. Posidonius. Mortal as I am, I know that I am born for a day. But when I follow at my pleasure the serried multitude of the stars in their circular course, my feet no longer touch the earth. Ptolemy. Above all things, respect yourself. Pythagoras. A fool is known by his speech, and a wise man by silence. Pythagoras. Concern should drive us into action and not into depression. No man is free who cannot control himself. Pythagoras. In anger, we should refrain both from speech and action. Pythagoras. In marriage, there must be complete companionship and concern for each other on the part of both husband and wife, in health and in sickness, and at all times, because they entered upon the marriage for this reason, as well as to produce offspring. When such caring for one another is perfect, and the married couple provides it for one another, and each strives to outdo the other, then this is marriage as it ought to be, and deserving of emulation, since it is a noble union. But when one partner looks to his own interests alone and neglects the others, or by Zeus, the other is so minded that he lives in the same house, but keeps his mind on what is outside it, and does not wish to pull together with his partner or to cooperate, then inevitably the union is destroyed. And although they live together, their common interests fare badly, and either they finally get divorced from one another, or they continue on in an existence that is worse than loneliness. Rufus. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca. We must take a higher view of all things and bear with them more easily. It better becomes a man to scoff at life than to lament over it. Seneca. A gift consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver or doer. Seneca. All cruelty springs from weakness. Seneca. As fire tests gold, so misfortunate tests brave men. Seneca. As it is with a play, so it is with life. What matters is not how long the acting lasts, but how good it is. Seneca. As long as you live, keep learning how to live. Seneca. Brave men rejoice in adversity, just as brave soldiers triumph in war. Seneca. Enjoy present pleasures in such a way as not to injure future ones. Seneca. Everything hangs on one's thinking. A man is as unhappy as he has convinced himself he is. Seneca. Excess in anything becomes a fault. Seneca. Hang on to your youthful enthusiasms. You'll be able to use them better when you're older. Seneca. He who fears death will never do anything worth of a man who is alive. Seneca. How does it help to make troubles heavier by bemoaning them? Seneca. I do not know whether I shall make progress, but I should prefer to lack success rather than to lack faith. Seneca. If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. Seneca. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Seneca. It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable. Seneca. Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Seneca. No man can have a peaceful life who thinks too much about lengthening it. Seneca. No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. Seneca. Nothing, to my way of thinking, is a better proof of a well-ordered mind than a man's ability to stop just where he is and pass some time in his own company. Seneca. People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. Seneca. Sometimes even to live is an act of courage. Seneca. The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. Seneca. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. Seneca. The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable. Seneca. There is no easy way from the earth to the stars. Seneca. The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately. Seneca. Think your way through difficulties. Harsh conditions can be softened, restricted ones can be widened, and heavy ones can weigh less on those who know how to bear them. Seneca. Those whom true love has held, it will go on holding. Seneca. To bear trials with a calm mind robs misfortune of its strength and burden. Seneca. Better to do a little well than a great deal badly. Socrates. Contentment is natural wealth. Luxury is artificial poverty. Socrates. Having the fewest wants, I am nearest to the gods. Socrates. The only thing I know is that I know nothing. Socrates. To move the world, we must first move ourselves. Socrates. Why should we pay so much attention to what the majority thinks? Socrates. Men are of little worth. Their brief lives last a single day. They cannot hold elusive pleasure fast. He melts away. All laurels wither, all illusions fade. Hopes have been phantoms, shade on air-built shade since time began. Sophocles. Rather fail with honor than succeed by fraud. Sophocles. Wisdom outweighs any wealth. Sophocles. Nothing is more active than thought, for it travels over the universe, and nothing is stronger than necessity, for all must submit to it. Thales. Time is the wisest of all things that are, for it brings everything to light. Thales. Each man's soul is his genius. Xenocrates. Most people, when they are set upon looking into other people's affairs, never turn to examine themselves. Xenophon, Conversations of Socrates. People often say what is right and do what is wrong, but nobody can be in the wrong if he is doing what is right. Xenophon, Conversations of Socrates. You are well aware that it is not numbers or strength that bring the victories in war. No, It is when one side goes against the enemy with the gods' gift of a stronger morale that their adversaries, as a rule, cannot withstand them. I have noticed this point too, my friends, that in soldiering the people whose one aim is to keep alive usually find a wretched and dishonorable death, while the people who, realizing that death is the common lot of all men, make it their endeavor to die with honor, somehow seem more often to reach old age and to have a happier life when they are alive. These are facts which you too should realize. Our situation demands it, and should show that you yourselves are brave men, and should call on the rest to do likewise. Xenophon, the Persian expedition. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we say. Zeno, quoted by Diogenes Laertius. Man conquers the world by conquering himself. Zeno of Citium. Well-being is attained little by little, and nevertheless is no little thing itself. Zeno of Citium. A bad feeling is a commotion of the mind, repugnant to reason and against nature. Zeno. So it is with men too. Even if they don't want to, they will be compelled to follow what is destined. Zeno. The goal of life is living in agreement with nature. Zeno. When a dog is tied to a cart, if it wants to follow, it is pulled and follows, making its spontaneous act coincide with necessity. But if the dog does not follow, it will be compelled in any case. So it is with men too. Even if they don't want to, they will be compelled to follow what is destined. Zeno. I believe in you, friend. Stay humble and keep growing. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily wisdom. Thank you. Stoistica.